Welcome back to another episode of Our Community. I'm your host, Alfredo Diamond, local real estate agent, entrepreneur. Welcome. I've got today's special guest, Jeff Huffine of IronGate. Welcome, Jeff.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
Looking forward to this one. Man, we're going to jump right into it.
Okay.
Tell me where you're from.
Well, I'm from Economy, Indiana.
Okay.
That's where I grew up.
All right. And just a little bit about your background, like where'd you go to school, your experiences?
Yeah. So I'm a Hagerstown graduate and went to college at Heron School of Art, which is part of Indiana University. So, yeah. So I got my education there and then jumped into the business.
Okay. All right. Which I want to know more about and look excited about that. So we'll jump right into that. So Jeff, tell me about your journey that led you to co-found IronGate and what inspired you to venture into that field.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, I have to first talk about how I say that art chose me.
Okay.
Because I was an art kid growing up. Like, I don't know where it came from. It was from God. Like my ability, like I could draw. And, I think back on that, like in my home, I never saw, that was not like modeled. Like I never saw anybody in my family drawing or, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have that kind of influence in my family. And so it was like something I could just do. Yeah. It was, I didn't have to work at it and I didn't. Like I never really took art as a serious thing until kind of later when I was in high school. But it was something I could do. Like I could draw, and I did a lot, but it was always for pleasure. But it was never like, hey, I'm going to like turn this into a career somehow, And so for me, I say this a lot. Like for me, going to art school was like going to Mars, and because that was such a foreign idea or a foreign thought.
Growing up, do you think that inspired you or motivate you to go further with art?
Yeah, well, what I found was I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the idea of being creative. I fell in love with the idea of being able to get paid for my ideas. It's very rewarding to get paid for your ideas. I mean, gosh, man, that's like the ultimate.
I love that. And from the entrepreneur side, just tell me about your experience, like getting started to where your business is today. I mean, I would love to hear about that. And I'm sure our audience would too.
So, well, first of all, I grew up in a large family. And so I had like brother-in-laws and that were entrepreneurs. They had their own businesses and stuff. And so I was always kind of around it, small business in the peripheral, and I've always admired those people I've admired my whole family, but the entrepreneurs in the family, I've always admired them and thought in the back of my mind, I thought, well, I've always wanted to have my own business. Yeah. And I think it kind of comes from that. And getting started, after I went to art school, I did an internship in a design firm. Okay. And so, when I was in art school, you have like these two different tracks you go on. And so, you kind of go down the fine art side of it, or you do what they would call, at that time, they would call it commercial art. Okay. And you have to remember, I graduated, or I went to art school in 1981. Think about that. Like, where were we in 1981? Yeah. There weren't personal computers. There weren't cell phones. There, how we do business now, then was completely different. Yeah. And so, so this all is pre-computer. So a lot of it at that time depended on your hand skills. And, where now that the computer's levelized, it's leveled all of that. And so, but anyway, I say that. So I go out and I get an internship at a design studio in Indianapolis. Okay. And then it's like who you work for and who already I'm networking.
Mm-hmm.
And from that networking, I get my first job.
Okay.
Right after I graduated college. And my first job is for Indianapolis Magazine.
Okay.
And so I start out there, small department, putting out a monthly magazine, and you had to do it in a month. And this is all pre-computer. So it's all by hand, right? It's like a whole building mechanicals first coming up with all the story ideas and doing photography. And, it's like, okay, here's what we're doing this week. Here's what we're doing this week. I mean, it was just like, very educational. I learned so much at that time, about how, to work through all that process, and then bam, we're on to the next one. It was like exciting for me, because it was moving, just constantly moving. And, so I did that for probably about a year and a half.
Getting a lot of experience at this point.
Yeah. I was getting a ton of experience and trying to find my way, and then, after that, I was married to my wife, Stacy, and, starting a young family. And I'm like, that job, I didn't have any insurance, and, so, I always tell the story. So we had our first child. My wife, she was making more money than I was, and her company, she had the health insurance, everything. And so we have our first child, and like her first week back to work, I get this phone call from her, and she's crying, and she's like, I don't want to go back to work. She wanted to stay home with her mom, with her baby and our baby. And of course I'm like, honey, I'm sorry, but you make more money. You're the breadwinner. You're the breadwinner. I'm sorry, but she got to stay home with the second baby, but, but so I, knew I needed to get to take the next step. Right. And so, maybe a job that has insurance and pays better and all that.
So you weren't at the spot where you're thinking business at this point.
Right. I'm just like trying to learn what all this is about. Like, the idea of marketing and advertising and design and the commerce side of all of that, that there's so much to learn. So, so I was fortunate enough to like land a job at a Ball Corporation in Muncie.
Okay.
So I spent almost 10 years at Ball Corporation. At that time, they were headquartered in Muncie. Now they're out in Colorado. And so that was a great job. I never had flown before, and I was flying places with them, and just the exposure I got, and it really kind of became the measuring stick. Well, and what I want to say here is that I had a mentor.
Okay.
This is really important, I think, for people when they're starting their careers. I had a mentor there. His name's Kerry Shaw, and I worked for Kerry almost 10 years, and like he helped shape me, as a person in a work environment. But what I got, he modeled to me like how to treat people right. And it just went really far and he put up with me, right? Like put up with my arrogance, my being full of myself, being patient, seeing the potential, and then trying to help develop me and getting me there.
He coached you. Yeah.
He coached me. And it's like, still to this day, like I'm using things that he exposed me to that, really made a difference. So, and I wanted to go back and also say that, so I'm in high school and I'm a sophomore and I'm in art class. And at that point, I'm not really sure what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, all of most of my family, didn't go to college. And so, figured I was probably going to get a factory job.
Yeah.
But there weren't any. And we just coming off that, in the late 70s with the gas shortage, and all that.
Wow.
There was a lot of layoffs, things like that. So there wasn't really a factory job. And so anyway, probably a sophomore in high school, I'm sitting in art class and my art teacher said, have you ever thought about going to art school? And quite frankly, no. I'm like, what is art school?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. No one in my family's done that. Yeah.
you know, but it was just like that art, you know, that her name is Paula Richardson. And Paula said, what do you think about going to art school? And from that point on,
Put a spark in you.
it put the spark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful. Like people have influence and they probably don't even know how much influence they can have.
Yeah.
So it's powerful. And so like from then on, I was all about learning about art school. And I did a couple visits. You know, I went to Ball State. I went to Heron. I went to Dayton University and looked and trying to figure out like, what's this all about? You know, and and so, but she kind of put me on that direction. And all it was, have you ever thought about going to art school?
You got your mind.
Yeah.
No.
It was powerful though, but, you know, she probably doesn't know. That's why I wanted to say her name, is because she probably doesn't know the impact she had.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, but that was powerful. So, so I was at Ball Corporation for like almost 10 years. I loved that job. I loved that job because I think it was more about the culture. It was about the people there. It was, felt like family. And of course I had a very strong mentor. And so all of that, but you know, it's like, okay, I need to move on, you know.
You've outgrown it.
I've outgrown it. And so, and I've gone about as far as I'm going to go here because there were other people on our team. And so, I went back out to Indianapolis and, I worked for, at that time, a company called, USA Group, and, their student loan industry.
What did you do there?
I was, in the marketing department.
Okay.
So a manager of design.
Okay.
So we had a large team. There was a large team, probably altogether, probably close to 30 people.
Okay.
You know, we were doing all the marketing for the company. And so I went into more of a management role. So that was a good experience too. And eventually that led to me starting my business, because what happened was USA Group was sold to Sally Mae. And so I worked for Sally Mae for a short time.
I know those guys.
Yeah. You know, and I had an opportunity to go with Sally Mae. Like I could have gone out to Reston, Virginia, where they were headquartered, which is just outside of DC. And thought about it, but you know, it's like families got a hold of us. Like, family's tight, you know, is important to us. And it's just like, we didn't want to leave family and stuff. And so chose not to do that. So there was duplication here. Like Sally Mae had a big team. USA Group has a big team of marketing people. And so, they're like, well, we'll give you a severance package.
Wow.
You know, which was great. And so I said, well, I'm going to start my own business. I think I'm going to start my own business. And so they're like, okay, we'll make you a contractor.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
So,
so the severance package, how long did you receive?
1 quarter.
1 quarter?
Yeah.
Wow. 12 weeks.
I didn't have to pay myself for 1 quarter. Now you think about that, because when you start a creative business, you got to find work.
Yeah.
You got to, you know, do the work, and then you get paid.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but in a nutshell, that's kind of it. And so sometimes it takes a while, you know, and I didn't have to, like, I didn't have money to go to the bank and get a line of credit. And I was, you know, just really trying to get my career going. And so, yeah, so I was able to, and, you know, there were 3 entities that spun out of all of this, you know, so, and one of those entities I still work for today. This was
20 as a contractor.
Yeah. 23 years ago. So the Lumina Foundation.
Wow.
Which is the second largest education foundation in the United States, right behind the Gates Foundation. And so the Lumina Foundation, because the Lumina Foundation was kind of the benefactor of the sale of USA Group, because USA Group was a non-for-profit. And so it had all that $780 million had to stay as a non-for-profit. Mm-hmm. And so that's how the Lumina Foundation came out of that. And so I went to work for them, still do some work for them, Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is in 23 years, all the people that I knew at Lumina mm-hmm. are no longer there.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we still do some work for them. And then there was USA Funds, which was the original loan guarantor mm-hmm. of student loans. They spun back out. So we were working for USA Funds. I was working for USA Group and doing a little work for Sally Mae too.
So you starting a business. You come out the gate with income coming in still for at least another 3 months.
Yeah.
Then you come out the gate with your first client, which spins off into additional clientele.
And they were all my peers. So like, what's
you got
really
great relationships with them.
Right. That's what was so, I was so fortunate. That's not how it probably works.
So that's where I was going. So have you had any challenges like running your business?
Like how to run a business.
Okay.
I'm sure we could talk about that all day of just faking it and fake it till you make it. Yeah. It's like when you're small, you can fake it more. Mm-hmm. And as you start to, add more employees and grow, then that whole structure, mm-hmm. You got to try to figure it out. But, it's like, I did not go to school for business. And so, at the same time, I'm trying to figure out how to run a creative business and take care of my clients. And then, I got a bill and I got to worry about taxes and all this. There's a great book that I read. It's called The E-Myth.
Okay.
Yeah. And The E-Myth is a book that's about,
I've heard of that.
It's about really, it's about this idea that, you're good at something and you're working for someone and mm-hmm. You see that owner or your boss and you think, I could do this. I mean, my boss, I don't think he's very smart or whatever, I could do this. Right. And so you decide you think you're going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is what you're really good at and what you're passionate about, you don't get to do that.
Yeah.
What really makes it for you, it's going to be like 1/3 because you have to do all these other things to run a business.
Yeah.
And so, and that's the book's about that, like trying to understand like where your strengths are mm-hmm. and hiring and finding resources for the things that you're not good at.
Yeah.
And, because that's the myth,
mm-hmm.
right? Mm-hmm. The myth is I'm going to kill this. I'm going to be great at it because I'm good at this job. And then what you find out is, now I'm a prisoner and I hate it because I don't get to do, I've lost the fulfillment of what I got to do. And,
So there's a common thing that I get from other entrepreneurs and business owners. And I've talked to, this topic's come up a couple of different times with me in passing with other people this week. So the E-Myth and then, thinking that you can emulate your boss or your manager.
Yeah.
But now you're a boss and you want things done a certain way.
Yeah.
How do you let go and trust that your staff is doing it how you need it done?
Well, at first I didn't have a staff.
Okay.
So, and that was like, oh my heavens. I've always worked in teams. And so I started out, I rented a little space in I'm going to do this from Hagerstown.
Uh-huh.
And so I rented an office space and I'm like there every day and I'm lonely. It's just me. And I'm like, oh man, this is hard. Like when the mailman would come in, I'd talk his leg off, I'd talk his leg off. And that part was so hard. So I was trying to take care of my 3 clients, and then I was already starting kind of to pick up some other work. And so, it's just like the isolation of all that, but also trying to. So here's what I do. Mm-hmm. And this is what I say to everyone. You got to hire a good accountant,
Mm-hmm.
hire a good insurance guy, person, hire a good lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Those three are so important to you as a team for your kind of team of advisors.
Yeah.
It's so real. It's critical.
So like, do you deal with those guys one-on-one? I just want to know for myself, maybe someone out there.
Yeah.
So do you deal with these individuals one-on-one, or do you collaborate? Like, will you send an email out that includes everyone when you've got an issue or a question? It's a team.
Yeah. I never did that where I pulled everybody together, but I did talk to each of those associates, individually. And so, at the time, my, accountant was a tax lawyer.
Okay.
It was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
We leaned on her pretty heavy, so I'm trying to get all this work done, and I'm working a lot. Like I'm working 80 hours.
Oh, wow.
I'm not exaggerating.
I believe it.
Because I have all this work. I have all this commitment, all this work. And I remember, so I got introduced to my business partner, who's Jeff Richards. And so didn't know Jeff, a mutual friend of ours who was a printing salesman, had worked with him. And Jeff was actually living in the community, but I'd never met him. I didn't know anything about him. Mm-hmm. And so we were introduced by a mutual friend. And he was wanting to start a business similar to mine. And so I convinced him to come down and rent a space beside me, and that we would start. I had plenty of work, that I could give him to help him, because he was trying to, find enough work to justify making this change, because he's going to leave a good paying job to do this. Right. Mm-hmm. That's a big commitment. Yeah. It's scary. It's very scary. And so, he came on, pulled in beside me. He had a business. I had a business. We started working together, and I was talking about, and we're busy. We're busy. We've been blessed, and we're busy. And I tell the story about, we're working a lot of late nights. And I tell a story about my wife, Stacy, where I remember we were on a crunch, on a deadline, trying to get something done. So we worked till, 2 a.m, something like that, And I come home and I go to bed. Well, then I get up ahead of her, and I only came and slept for not very long.
Yeah, 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah. And I'm back up and I'm getting ready to leave. And I remember her kind of leaning up and putting it, on her arm. And she says, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going back to work." And she says, "Why?" Yeah. Right? She doesn't know. She doesn't know what we're doing, how, that the work has to be done. It's all deadline driven. So, we have to perform, and and that's what it's like. But I like that too. I mean, I've always been an athlete. And so, there's this level of competition. There's this, the challenge of, winning it, doing it, all that kind of stuff, delivering it,
completing the goal.
Yeah. So, but we've always, worked really hard, but when you're doing it for yourself, you love it.
Yeah.
It's
it's not like work.
I've never treated it like work. To me, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. So Jeff and I, we worked together for 7 years. We rented a third room down there because we started collecting all this stuff. And I said to Jeff, I'm like, man, between the 3 rooms that we're renting, we could probably buy our own building. Yeah. And so we went to our lawyer and stuff. And, so we formed a little real estate, a little company, just we bought a building. Okay. We weren't partners yet, but we bought a building together, which is IronGate now. So, we bought it and then renovated it. Took about 7 months, and, renovated it and went in there. And so we worked there. That was probably about 2007. about 2013, we were we had to do something.
You started hiring people.
Well, that was the problem. We needed to hire people. He had a business. I had a business. It was messy. Like, we were trying to like make our clients think that we're one thing that we weren't, and on top of that, who hires?
Yeah.
Who's going to hire here?
So you're operating under two different entities.
Yeah.
But you need to be one.
And so we go.
How do you get past that?
Well, and the problem a little bit was that I talked him into using the same accountant that I had, which he did. Well, her philosophy was she didn't believe in partnerships. Like she says, it's like they're like a marriage. 50% of them make it, boys. And she's like, I was in a partnership.
Yeah.
And she said, I thought it was ironclad. It didn't make it, And so like from her experience, she said, don't do it. Now she's already worked with us for 7 years, and finally, we're like, she held us off, I don't know, maybe a year or so. But finally we went back and just said, hey, we're doing this. We got to do this. And so she's like, well, I want you to understand. And say, I never thought about this. She's like, going into a partnership is like getting married. And that means you have to be accountable about your finances to each other. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like if you're going to buy something big, you got to tell your partner.
Discuss it.
Right? And she's like, you'll resent the fact that you give up your financial independence, which I thought was great advice. And she also said, you guys, your styles are different when it comes to money. Right? And also, I'm 6 years older. Jeff was even a little bit later by the time he got married and started raising children too. So my kids are almost already, finishing through high school, starting college, all that. So she's like, you're in two different places. And so you need to consider all of that. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the work done.
Yeah.
And to build this,
What, and we'll move on, but what makes you guys different? How do you make it work?
Well, then she gave us this other piece of advice. She's like, well, someone has to own at least 51%, right? Because how do you make a decision?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't listen to her. We said 50-50.
Yeah.
And so if we don't agree, we don't do it. Right? If we don't agree, we don't do it. But how do we make it work? I think it's I call it dating. We dated for 7 years.
Yeah, chemistry now. You just know what the other one's thinking, and
the other thing that she asked us to do too was like, I want you. So here was the best part. She kind of acted like a marriage counselor. She says, okay, you've worked together for 7 years, so I want you each to make a list of what drives you crazy about each other, right? All the things that drive you crazy. And then we're going to come together and talk about those things. Like we're going to put the issues on the desk, And she said, also, I want each of you to bring me a 5-year plan for the vision for the company, and what you think maybe a 10-year plan might look like.
Individual.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we brought all that together. We aired our, kind of all of our, what drives
issues out.
Yeah. Put it on a table and stuff. And so she kind of just worked through it with us and, so that was helpful too. And so then we formed IronGate and off we went. And so
how many employees do you have now?
So we have 3 full-time employees. In fact, we just made an offer this morning to a 4th. And then we have a couple contract employees that we use as well. So, we have one contract employee, probably gives us an invoice every week. So we technically.
Yeah. So when I met you, I believe we were talking about like CRM systems and things like that.
Yeah.
I imagine you do more than just that.
Yeah.
Tell me about IronGate.
Yeah. So we're a branding, marketing, digital marketing firm. And we talk a lot about being growth driven. That comes from HubSpot. So
Okay.
HubSpot is a CRM, it's a customer relationship management system, and it takes, and basically it's about it's a competitor of like Salesforce, which is a much bigger operation, but HubSpot's pretty big and they're international. And so we became a HubSpot partner. So we sell HubSpot to our clients, and then we also train and support it. And then we also market with it and we build on it. So it's a platform where you can build a website on the platform, but it's also inbound. It's about inbound marketing. It's about, you have a sales team. How are you tracking all that activity on a sales team?
Okay.
Right. And where's all that history living? So let's say you're a salesman for a company and you have a book of business and then you leave that company. Where's all that history? Where's all those conversations and relationships and all that history?
Right.
It can all live on HubSpot.
Okay.
You know, so that, and it's all where you can access it, you can see it, but also if you have customer service and then marketing. And so this whole idea of like, sales funnel, lead generation, you know, that's what we're doing. Right. Yeah. So that's what we do for customers now. So we kind of have two sides to our business.
Okay.
So right after COVID, we had a very big client. We worked for Franciscan Health hospitals. At that time, it was probably 16 or 17 hospitals, and we had worked for them for 18 years.
Wow.
We weren't their agency of record. They had a big ad agency. But what we did was we came in and helped implement their brand and build down into their service lines. And it was just, they had a very large staff. And so it was great because we had work coming.
Yeah.
We had work coming. And so we lost that. After 18 years, that finally went away. And so we were kind of at a crossroads. So we kind of had that, I call it the come to Jesus meeting, where we're like, well, what do you want to do? You want to quit? Wow.
Come too far.
Or where are we going?
Yeah.
And so we decided we wanted to, I feel like if you're not growing, then you're dying, right? And I said, well, I want to grow. I think we need to grow it. And so we were looking at HubSpot to help us start to try to do that. And so we did that. We adopted the HubSpot kind of methodology. We have two sides to our business now. We have the HubSpot kind of that side of it where we act as a marketing company or a marketing department for somebody, for a company, just depending on what their situation is and their resources. And we do their kind of day-to-day activity for marketing, and we do strategy and we build it all out. And so what we're talking about here is like automating the sales process, right? We automate sales processes. We talk about really identifying buyer personas and who those target audiences are. They're very important to understand. And then also like what that sales journey looks like. Like how hard is it for someone to do business with your organization?
Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of barriers that keep sales from happening because of how hard you make it for people.
And missed opportunities.
So we talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
So
walk me through. So I'm a new prospective client for you. What is the process? So is there a consultation process? I may not be a good fit. You may not be a good fit.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm a new lead for you. What's that look like?
Yeah. So that's kind of my job now.
Okay.
So, it's amazing if you think about like the bid process or writing proposals and things like that. So what we've learned over that time is like, how do we align? So for example, you hire an ad agency in Indianapolis and they're down on Monument Circle. They're downtown. Think about their overhead.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Think about what it costs. So every business has an hourly rate. They know what their hourly rate is. And what I mean is what they have to charge to be open, right?
Yeah.
So that hourly rate is like taking into consideration all their overhead,
Yeah.
all those salaries and stuff like that. So that all impacts like what they have to charge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're hiring an agency
Mm-hmm.
in downtown Indianapolis and they have a fairly large staff, think about what what they have to charge.
Yeah.
You hire us in Hagerstown,
Mm-hmm.
everything's cheaper,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can be more competitive on the price, gives us some flexibility. And so there's that. So it's this whole thing about align. And I say that because I've had clients say, man, we were using this other place and gosh, they were just so expensive, And I'm thinking, well, did you ever consider that we're all not equal?
Yeah.
And did you ever consider why they have to charge that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's just business, but it's like trying to understand those economics and making sure that you are in alignment. So now what I have to do is like when we get referrals or we're starting a conversation, you can have hours in talking to people and writing proposals. We like to get it on the table fast, because, and that is, listen, no offense here, but here's what it's going to take to work with us. A minimum. Okay. Now we don't know what your budget is. And maybe you didn't have any idea or an expectation, but this is let's get it on the table. Let's don't waste each other's time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no offense here. I mean, I'm not trying to be offensive, but let's just get it on the table. So that's the first hurdle.
Yeah.
And so we try to get it on the table as quick as we can, and people have said, we don't want to spend that, but we appreciate the fact that you come out and you said that, know, and I'm like, okay, cool. It's like no hard feelings and not taking this. And it's always hard to have that conversation, but we've learned that's what we have to do.
Oh yeah. 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 You kind of walked yourself into this one. So what are some unique challenges you face working in a small town like Hagerstown, Indiana, compared to larger cities?
And I've thought about that a lot because, opportunity maybe, just the sheer number of opportunities or businesses that are around you in a large community like Indianapolis or Columbus, Ohio, or Cincinnati, or that whole thing, the perception of being in a small community, or and then our other challenge too is I just told you, we're hiring.
Yeah.
Is
it's tough
finding people.
It's tough to
sure,
do.
Finding talented people that want to work in Hagerstown. That that's COVID's taught us that we have to, that we can do remote.
Yeah.
But we still want to build a culture.
Right.
We want to build a culture, and so I got this building.
Yeah.
And so those are some of our challenges, I think, that are out there. So.
Could you share a project or a campaign you're particularly proud of?
Yeah.
And the impact it had on your client?
Yeah. Locally here, First Bank Richmond. I Love My Bank campaign. Gosh, we've been working on that campaign now for 15 or 16 years, maybe longer. I don't know. But that's been really impactful because I never expected that campaign to still be living. First Bank always talks about how they still have customers that are asking to be on their billboards and stuff. Like that.
Cool, yeah.
It is, and it's like, and also First, I Love My Bank kind of became a catchphrase. Where people would say, "I love my bank," and which was really cool. But just that legacy, it's still there.
Yeah.
And we take a lot of pride in it. First Bank, they have like a big training facility at their headquarters. It's a big open room. I think they can kind of like partition it off if they need to and stuff. But they've hung
each one
all the way
cool.
around. Now you think about all the years we've been doing it, and there's a body of work there. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
I love going in there because it's like my monument.
Yeah.
To a legacy.
Yeah.
And, and to have, I have to kind of take my hat off to First Bank and Gary Clear and to Susan Richwine, who's their marketing director, for continuing with it. Because a lot of times what happens is a company will get tired of something that you're doing, thinking everybody else is probably tired of it too, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not that way because everybody else is not seeing it or living it.
You want that consistency.
Right. And you want that consistency. But and that came out of, we did brand research for them many years ago. We did interviews, we did some focus groups and stuff. And that was like a legitimate thing that came out, was that First Bank. I love First Bank because of their involvement with the community, how they support the community, how they support the arts, how they support all these things that I love. Right. And that was powerful. That was like making a super strong connection to a brand, that was authentic and true. And so I love my bank is, I think why it's resonated so long because it's true,
What's the address of your location with IronGate over there in Hagerstown?
Yeah, 35 West Main Street. We're right on Main Street in Hagerstown, and we bought that building. It was in a sheriff's cell.
Okay.
So, being in real estate, we looked probably for over a year, and we looked in other communities. Like we came over here downtown Richmond. We looked at a couple buildings here. We were very serious about moving here. We also looked in Cambridge City. So we were working our agent pretty hard, Yeah. And we got, and at one point, and I kept saying to her, listen, these buildings, they got to have character. Like if they don't have bones, I don't want to see them, because she would call and say, hey, I got this building. I want you to go look at it. And I said, where is it? And she'd tell me. I'm like, I'd say, no, we're not going to go see that. And she's like, why not? I said, because I told you it's got to have, that building has no character.
Yeah.
And she would say, well, you put the character in it, right? and I'm like, that is true.
Yeah.
But it's got to have some bones to it, right?
Yeah.
Like something there that's got some character. And so I'm driving by this building, which I've driven by literally thousands of times and never gave it any consideration. And it had a big sign out front that said sheriff's cell, for sale, sheriff's cell. Places all run down.
Condemned.
I mean, you could just walk in it, right?
Yeah.
You could just go in. And sure enough, we walked through it and fell in love with it. And so we bought it out of a sheriff's cell, got it pretty cheap. But then we turned around, popped a bunch of money into it, to bring it back. And took, like I said, it was probably a good solid 7 months of renovation and doing it. But what was also cool was the town of Hagerstown gave us a low interest loan. They use, if you're in their business district, they will give you edit funds. So edit funds are tax dollars for business development, and so what they do is if you're going to create jobs, you can apply to the town for a low interest loan. It was 1%. I think we got a $30,000 loan. Now, we were doing this project regardless, but it was a really nice gesture.
Yeah.
And I think we had 10 years to pay it off, and when we paid it off, I mean, there was some criticism in the community. Why are you giving those people a loan? Right? They don't need, they're a business. They don't need a loan. You always get that. You always get somebody speaking up. So when we paid off the loan, I went back to them and I gave them a list. I said, here's what your money bought you. Here's what your money did.
And you revitalized, I'm sure you renovated that building.
Exactly.
And helped the community with that.
We renovated a building that was going to be tore down. This building's 1853.
Saved a piece of history.
It's one of the oldest buildings in Hagerstown.
Wow.
It's got so much history. It's just amazing. There's one part of our building that goes supposedly back to 1839. That was a separate building that was up on the sidewalk and then moved back. They moved it back and then built the rest of the house around it. Right. And so when you go underground and look at it, that part's on a crawl space, it's the floor joists are, they're logs with bark. And the darn thing is setting, it's setting on a tree stump, like for support. It's all field stone. And it's like, we had some people come in and do some work on it. And they were telling us, they're like, the wood in this part is so old. Like it probably predates. It's probably dating back into the 1700s, maybe older.
Wow.
The wood is, because they said you can tell by the like hardwood, the grain is so tight. Like you can't get wood like this.
Wow.
You know, and so it's pretty old. But we're really proud of that. We were able to do that. So I went to the town when we paid it off, and I said, here's what you did with your money. You know, first of all, you got a building right downtown, renovated. You know, now it's a showpiece.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, we generated, you know, we've hired 3 employees that they're educated. They've bought houses here. They're raising families here. That's what you did. Yeah. You know, and we're going to continue to grow and continue to do that. And so, that's pretty powerful. Yeah. You know,
just amazing story. And I'm so glad you're here. Again, I appreciate you being here today. So we'll take a deep dive and get to know you a little bit better. I mean, so what's a typical day like for you outside of work? Any favorite hobbies or activities?
Well, I ride a bicycle. And so
road bike, racing bike,
road bike,
Okay.
Yeah. And so I've done a lot of bike riding.
Okay.
That's probably one of my pleasures. I say biking can be like golf. By the way, I suck at golf.
So do I. Join a club. Join a club.
I have. Do you know how many times?
No pun intended. Join a club. No, yeah.
Do you know how many times I get asked to go play golf? I wish I could play golf because I'm missing all kinds of great opportunities. You know.
Yeah.
But I just can't hit the darn ball.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so I've got all kinds of golf stories. You know, I could talk all day about that. But so I still play a little bit. But started riding bikes, and I love it. You know, and you know, but I say biking can be like golf because it's very intimate. Like you can ride with someone and talk if you can breathe, but talk with them. And, you know, if you're just kind of casually riding and stuff like that. And I mean, I ride with some people that want to draft like NASCAR, you know, they want to draft off each other.
You're a rider for real. So what's the most amount of miles you've ridden in one day?
I've done the rain ride. So
across the state?
State of Indiana.
Wow,
what is that? 168 miles, I think.
You're a bad boy.
I did it twice, and in between it, I had a heart attack.
What?
Yeah. So, I've had a heart attack, and well, I called it a minor heart attack.
Okay.
You know,
that's scary.
But the nurse says, "Hey, man, it's a heart attack's a heart attack, right?" So, I rode 2 years back to back, had a heart attack in between. And I was back the next year riding. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
you are a bad boy.
Well, I don't know, maybe dumb, I don't know, but I like to ride. So that's probably my one of my kind of like personal pleasures. And you know, it's like I also go down and do the Hilly 100 down in Bloomington.
Okay,
that's a pretty ride. I think there might be close to maybe 5,000 people that do that. Wow. 4,000, something like that. I'm not ready for that. But it's, you know, what's really neat about it is like I can go somewhere and it's like in any kind of thing where I can talk to anyone, no matter how different they are from me, because we all have something in common. Like we all can talk about biking. Yeah. We're passionate about it. And that's where it starts. It's like, it's a way to connect, you know, and always have something that we can talk about, which is really cool. And then that's how I can get to know someone.
Build a rapport.
So those things are, when we talk about communities and trying to find ways to like bring people together, finding those kinds of connections, I think are so important, you know?
Yeah.
But biking's one, and then I'm a grandpa. And so, you know, I have 5 children, and then I have 5 grandkids. So 4 children, sorry. 4, I'll get my math wrong. 4 children, 5 grandkids so far. So we're like, baseball's coming. Just finished basketball. Yeah. You know, so we'll be on a field somewhere watching, you know, sports. Yeah. I love my kids, and so that's why I started my business in Hagerstown, and that's why I kept it there, is because family is very important.
That's why you didn't go to DC.
Well, listen, you know, when I was working in Indianapolis and I commuted from Hagerstown every day, And that's like living two lives, right?
Okay.
And it wasn't healthy. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to start my business. I wanted to put it in a community where my family was. And, and I wanted to flex. And that's why we didn't come to Richmond, believe it or not. We were working a lot of hours. And we said, listen, if we put our office in Richmond and we're living in Hagerstown, we're not going to come back at night.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to drive the 20 to 25 minutes or half hour to get downtown to my office. Now, if I'm in Hagerstown, 4 blocks from where I live to my studio, I'll go home, I'll eat dinner, I'll spend time with my family, and then I'll put them to bed. I'll come back to work.
Yeah.
If I know it sounds crazy, but that's what we did.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to jeopardize the willingness to be able to do that. Right.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's a lifestyle for us. It wasn't like a grind. It wasn't a job. And so, so my activities really are around, my family, and, bicycle riding. Other than that, I don't have a lot of time, to be honest, because I used to be on like I did a lot of volunteering. Like I was on, town, on the town, I just lost it on the, like a town hall on the management of the city. And then, I was also like on the, library board, and, I was a Rotary president, and I was doing all these different things. And, I, was just, what happens, you can like overextend, and then you're no good to anybody.
Yeah.
You're just showing up. It's like, you don't have time. You can't prepare because and I just like, by having, this is terrible, but by having a heart attack, I was able to like say no to everyone and just step away. Right.
And see, I want to backtrack a second and talk about that because I hear a lot of myself in you, and then also maybe you can help someone else.
Yeah.
Do you care to talk about your heart attack and like what attributed to it, and then how your life has changed since then?
Yeah. Well, I've always been pretty athletic, and I've always been very active, running, biking. So it was kind of a surprise to me, and I didn't have like a, there's guys, sometimes you hear about people that like ignore the symptoms of possibly having a heart attack. Like I didn't have like a big chest pain kind of thing, For me, it was like pain in my arms is like where, and I was actually downtown on, walking downtown to a client, and I started having like pains in my arm, and I had at that point, I didn't do something about it.
So you were feeling this ongoing for a while.
Yeah, in my arms. And they were starting to like kind of increase in my arm, and I got really lightheaded. Like I was afraid I felt like I was going to pass out.
Yeah.
And I was afraid I was going to do it on the street. So like I just walked into a building that had security officers like in the lobby, and just said, I think might be having a heart attack or getting sick here. And so they called an ambulance for me,
Wow.
And so that's how that all, then they tried to put a stent in, and they said that the blockage was kind of at the bottom of my heart, and the blood vessels there were where they were trying to do it were too small. They couldn't put a stent in. And so they said my heart would correct itself, like it would grow around that. So they put me on medication, and I went through some physical therapy. And
that's scary.
Yeah.
So how have you changed since then?
Well, I'm more appreciative of what I have. I'm also, I'm more human, I guess. It's like I think that it kind of grounds you or centers you a little bit. It made me more thankful. I'm religious, and so it tied me to that more. So
certainly inspiring, man. Hey, the message out there: make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah,
work will be there.
Oh yeah,
make sure you're taking care of yourself, because without you, then So take heed to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Jeff, do you have a personal motto or philosophy that guides your work and life decisions?
That's a good question. I was just singing yesterday. I guess I was singing out loud when I came into the office. Jeff, my business partner, said I was singing. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay or be all right. I'd heard that song earlier, and I was singing that to him. Singing it. My other one probably is "We walk by faith, not by sight." 2 Corinthians, and I have that like on my wall. So. I just say a lot that I'm handing this over to God. There's so much I don't have control of. And so it's up to him. Yeah. I'm going to give it everything I got. And so.
Man, it's been a pleasure. Is there anyone out there that you would like to give a shout out to, your staff, family?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of people. To my family, my wife Stacy, and she's been by my side the whole time.
Shout out Stacy.
Yeah, super supportive. Like I was going to go into a partner when I first got out, and I was telling you, I don't know, I was at one point I was thinking about going into business because I had this book of business, right? Like I was telling you about, like I got these 3 clients, and so I had a book of business, and so there was somebody I really admired in Indy, and I was going to go into a possible partnership, and she's like, and I was doubting it. And she's like, well, I just want you to know I got faith in you. So go for it. You don't need a partner.
You can do it yourself.
At that time. Yeah. She's like, but she's always been super supportive, been a rock for me. And so, it's like, when you do this, like your family is impacted by it. If you're going to be in a business, your family is totally impacted by what you're doing, and the time and commitment that you have to do and the sacrifices sometimes you have to make, and so they're all in it too, and it's impacting them and affecting them. So so I shout out to all of my kids and my wife and, them allowing me to be able to do it.
Well, Jeff, I think you're an amazing man and inspiration. So just want to thank you again for being here. It's been a great show.
Thank you.
I wish you continued success, my friend.
I appreciate it.